This is KGW News at 5.
Welcome to KGW News at 5. I'm Christelle Kunway. We begin this evening with Portland's infrastructure. You've probably noticed the changes to city streets. PBOT says it's all to accommodate all the drivers, cyclists, and pedestrians. But as Mike Benner reports, some recent changes to a street in downtown Portland aren't sitting well with everyone.
It's no secret that downtown Portland is still trying to come back from the pandemic and all of that civil unrest back in 2020. But there are business leaders, one you're about to hear from, who believe this new guarded bike lane is not helping the cause one bit. You'd be hard-pressed to find a Portlander or even a frequent visitor to the city who is not familiar with the Heathman Hotel, a fixture at the corner of Southwest Salmon and Broadway since the late 1920s.
One of the first luxury boutique hotels to go up in the city.
Marjorie Walsh has been the general manager of the Heathman for about a year. She'll tell you for the last several months she's been stressing about what's been happening right outside the front doors of the hotel.
It's definitely been operationally challenging for us.
Walsh is referring to what the Portland Bureau of Transportation did on Southwest Broadway. As part of what's called the Southwest Broadway Bike Improvements Project, PBOT put a bike lane right up against the curb and street parking adjacent to that.
We've had a lot of really close calls with guests coming out of their vehicle and almost getting hit by a bicycle coming up the lane. We had an incident where a guest's door got hit by a bicyclist.
According to Walsh, her own staffers have had trouble just doing their job. And she says the hotel's valet zone has been cut in half due to the facelift on Broadway.
Realistically, when loading vehicles and unloading vehicles, that gives you about 2 vehicles that'll fit in your valet zone. So obviously a hindrance to our business operation as well.
Walsh's concerns are not lost on the Transportation Bureau, but PBOT spokesperson Hannah Schaefer says the city continues to grow. There are more and more drivers, pedestrians, and cyclists, all with their own needs.
We do have to balance all the various needs, and we need to make our streets safer for all our different users, and prioritizing people on bikes and making it safer for them is a priority for us as we work to meet our climate goals as a city.
But it won't come without hiccups, as we saw while shooting video near the Benson Hotel. Close calls like this one are what bother Marjorie Walsh.
From a liability perspective, it's something we're highly concerned about, again, both from guests coming, but our own employees as well.
Walsh tells us she plans to put up cameras outside the Heathman Hotel to keep an eye on what she says has become a hazard. Reporting in downtown Portland, I'm Mike Benner for KGW News.
All right, now to a traffic update out of Yamhill County. Highway 219 near Hash Road is back open tonight after a crash in the area earlier. Tualatin Valley Fire and Rescue says 2 people were hurt and 1 was taken to the hospital by life flight with serious injuries. The other person is expected to be okay but was still taken to the hospital. Authorities have not said what caused the crash. Now to a big update for people planning to go up the mountain this weekend. Ski Bowl is now open. Guests were welcomed in about 4 hours ago. Now Ski Bowl is only opening the lower and upper bowl chairlifts along with the parking lot conveyor lift for now. You can head on to skibowl.com for more details, ticket information, and much more. Now, John Ranieri, you're joining us, and we were just talking about snow in the mountains, but turns out we could potentially see slow lower.
There's a chance. Now, it has to line up just perfectly. As you know, forecasting snow at the lower elevations throughout the valley can be kind of tricky, and that's the setup for later on tonight and into tomorrow as well. So here's a look at the satellite and radar. We're just looking at basically clear skies along the east side of the state, but you do have some watches and warnings throughout parts of eastern Oregon later on this week, and I'll show you that in a second. But this is that upper level low that's going to be providing some of the precipitation late tonight and into tomorrow. It's been kind of stalled out along the Oregon northern part of California border, so it hasn't moved up as quickly. But as we look at futurecasts, here's what's expected to happen. After midnight, we'll start to see some of that precipitation move through. It's going to be just rain throughout the southern part of the Willamette Valley, but heading into tomorrow morning, well after sunset, right around 10:30, 11, we could be seeing some transition from some rain showers to some snow showers. Now, the snow level is going to drop down about 500 feet. I'm expecting most of the accumulation to be throughout the West Hills and higher, and into southwest Washington, you'll see a little bit more of that snow. And heading into the afternoon, this model is showing that the snow showers will still be over parts of the metro area. And you notice this little pink line, there's also a chance to see a little bit of some freezing rain. We also have that east wind that's going to factor in this as well. Yes, it's going to be keeping us cold, but it could help evaporate some of that precipitation, move through late tonight and into tomorrow. As we jump into Monday morning, we are basically dry all day Monday and into Tuesday as well. But that cold air mass is going to be sitting around for the next couple of days. So this model is showing the potential for some light amounts throughout the metro area. Again, it's not going to be a snowstorm at all throughout the West Hills. You could be looking at light accumulation to maybe a little bit more, maybe 1 to 2 inches in a few of the higher elevations above the city. And coming up in my detailed forecast, I'll talk more about what we can expect to see over the next couple of days and just how long this cold air is going to be with us.
Sounds good. Thanks, Joe. The Portland Thorns need a new head coach. After just 1 year on the job, Coach Rhian Wilkinson announced her resignation. It all stems from her relationship with a player. Wilkinson released a statement on social media saying she and a player formed a friendship that turned into more of a complex with emotions. But she did emphasize it never turned physical. An investigation by the League and Players Association ultimately determined Wilkinson did not violate any sort of policies, but keeping her position as head coach was a different story.
Essentially, she has lost the trust and confidence of the rest of the team and is unable to move forward in the role.
Wilkinson's resignation comes just 1 day after Thorns owner Merritt Paulson announced he is selling the club. That's due to a months-long investigation that revealed a toxic culture of sexual, emotional, and verbal abuse within the Thorns organization. The fate of Oregon's landmark gun control measure now sits in the hands of a judge. Oregonians passed the measure in November, but opponents who argue it violates the Constitution quickly filed legal challenges. A judge will run on a rule on the case next week. The plaintiffs in this case say Measure 114 violates the rights of people to bear arms. The biggest point of contention is the ban on magazines that hold more than 10 rounds. The Oregon Attorney General's office defended the measure, saying the Second Amendment is not an absolute right, and the state does have the ability to regulate firearms.
Right now, our ability to enforce the magazine limits is none. We cannot. Not only do we not have the staffing to enforce magazine capacities, but right now I believe personally it's unconstitutional.
The Supreme Court has recognized the states retain some ability to make regulations when there are new social ills and new technology.
Measure 114 is scheduled to go into effect next Thursday. The judge says she will make a decision by Tuesday at the latest. It's been 2 years since Oregon voters passed Measure 109, allowing for the use of magic mushrooms in certain therapeutic settings. It did not legalize retail sales, but that did not stop sites like this. On Friday, a line extended around the block at a Portland business illegally selling psilocybin. KGW's Alma McCarty has more.
In downtown Portland, news spread fast this week about a particular business selling a particular product. Signage inside the store and a couple months back outside the building indicated one could buy psilocybin here at Shroom House. The owner of the business declined to speak on camera, as did the customers lining up down the street and around the block. But here's the thing. Retail psilocybin sales aren't exactly legal. When Measure 109 passed in 2020, voters approved the use of psilocybin in a licensed facility with a licensed facilitator. This after a 2-year rule development period.
I still think a lot of people have reached out thinking that this is a dispensary model, or that people will be able to go in and purchase psilocybin and take it with them off-site. We also know that that's not a part of what ORS 475A created.
ORS 475A being the specific psilocybin regulation law. Angie Albee leads the team putting the rules in place. She explains that work isn't done. Oregon Psilocybin Services, a part of the Oregon Health Authority, has until December 31st to finalize the systems and processes for licensing and regulation of the psilocybin products and services. OHA confirms there are are no licensed facilitators or service centers at this time in the state. When January 2nd rolls around, they'll start accepting applications for 4 types of licensure. And even then, it will take time to get everything fully up and running.
You would need a licensed manufacturer to cultivate or process psilocybin products. You would need a licensed testing lab to test those products according to our requirements and rule. You would have to have then a licensed service center to sell that psilocybin product to, and then you would have to have licensed facilitators to be able to provide psilocybin services, which includes a preparation session, administration session, and integration session.
Alma McCarty, KGW News.
Now, Albee said we should expect to see service centers up and running around the second quarter of next year. As for Shroom House operating outside the licensed system, a spokesperson with OHA stated criminal penalties are a law enforcement matter, and Portland Police tells us the narcotics and organized crime units are aware of the allegations.